of teacher turnover, but others don't. The new book, When Teachers Stay, Cultivating Resilient Teaching Communities, explores the question of what makes a resilient teaching community in which teachers want to stay and thrive, uncovering the cohesiveness, continuity, community, and deep sense of belonging for adults and kids. Michelle Hughes is an educator with more than 30 years of experience in teaching and leading in both public and independent schools. The new book, When Teachers Stay, Cultivating Resilient Teaching Communities, Michelle will be talking about and signing her new book at the Book House of Stuyvesant Plaza in Albany, New York on this Sunday at 3 p.m. She joins us in Studio A this morning. How are you?
Doing great. How are you, Joe?
I'm well. Very nice to see you. Thank you very much for coming in. It is it's nice to have you here once again. Give me a sense of what got you on this. You're founder and director of Mhlearningarts Consulting and Coaching. So I assume that work helped with this work.
It did. What led to both of those things, founding Lark and also writing this book, was 35 years of figuring education out, teaching and learning, leading, and supporting resilient teaching communities. And so when the COVID epidemic ended, and we had the highest attrition rate of teachers in many years, I began to wonder about the places where people were staying, because we all kind of know intuitively and through our just listening and watching why teachers leave. It's why teachers were staying in places that I was really curious about.
So what exactly, when we talking about a resilient teaching community, that looks like what to you?
So there were a few things, and that actually was the question I asked many people along this route. But essentially, what it comes down to is a group of teachers who can rely on each other for their expertise, who feel supported, who have ongoing growth opportunities, who share a mission, and who have a sense of trust and belonging. And that all is provided by and ensured by, sustained by a visible and engaged leader.
The leadership is key here, right? I mean,
it really is,
without a doubt. So you start with that, I assume.
Yeah, you start with that.
Now, so I have a lot of chicken and egg questions, but
Sure.
I mean, one seems to me to be that if you have a leader who has some say in who is being chosen, that has one aspect, and then you of course have the leader who is sort of dealing with what they have, right? So those are two different things you have to deal with. And how do you do that and continue to have the community that you're looking for?
Well, I've now spoken to easily a dozen leaders across the country, but I've had many more conversations over the years. But specifically about this, one of the things that these leaders have in common, whether they've inherited a staff or they've chosen a staff, is they prioritize through their day teaching and learning. It means getting into classrooms and being out in the halls and engaging with teachers and students and knowing people's stories. And once that happens, they can find a pathway forward.
So, I mean, no disrespect, but right? I mean, that's what you're looking for, right? So why is that so hard to often achieve?
It's really hard to achieve in schools, particularly because leaders in particular are bombarded with lots and lots of demands, and many of them are operational. And the principals that I've spoken with and the instructional leaders that I've spoken with who do this kind of work very consciously take that operational work and put them at the perimeters of the day so that they can make most of the day really about people. It's at some cost to themselves because they are then they're pretty late. But what they find is that upfront investment, that front loading investment, pays off in the amount of interventions they have to do on the other end. Also, it pays off in student learning, teacher engagement, and retention.
When it comes to making sure this is all going to plan, how do you keep those checks and balances and make sure that what you want to happen is actually happening?
I think the thing really is, I recently looked up, and I've been using the word collaboration my whole life.
Yeah.
But I just looked it up, the etymology of it, and the etymology of it is to labor alongside. And I thought about how important that viewpoint was in keeping this kind of ball rolling. When we're laboring alongside, we're prioritizing and making space for, and time for, and resources for collaboration, because it is the stuff that makes the teaching and learning possible. And then when the benefits start to appear, that's enough reinforcement, to keep it going.
Where do the parents fit into this?
It's interesting. I did a workshop with some teachers virtually in South Africa about this book, and we talked about the 7 pillars, and I said to them, is there anything you would add? And they said, families. And I really smiled when they said that, because they are, they're right. We often marginalize families in the education system in this country. It is true. And how do we bring folks in? One of the things that I saw in the schools that I visited across the country for this book is the high level of parental engagement in the schools. And I think it was because the teachers believed that the collaboration extended to the families they were working with.
So what I'm about to say and ask you about is completely anecdotal.
Okay.
But having loved ones that are in education and have overseen it in some cases, will tell you that it's often hard to keep teachers because of dealing with the parents. Is that true?
That was part of the when I looked at why teachers leave. That was certainly part of the equation. The big pieces were feeling that they weren't seen, that they had no means of support. And I think when you don't have the means of support and you don't have a visibly engaged leader, you're often left to your own devices to deal with parental issues, and therefore that can lead to people feeling overwhelmed and leaving.
So teachers coming and check that. Parents coming and demanding things from teachers that may or may not be
possible,
yes, and even a school board is sitting there, and people from outside saying, I'll look at banning books in the library, or do we buy the new bus? So all these things, all of that can have an effect on the individual teacher and the teaching community, right?
Yeah, it can. And I think the thing that I saw, Crystal Thorpe, who's now in higher administration in Fishers, Indiana, but who was the principal of Fishers Junior High School, said this thing that really rings for me. And she said, I take care of my teachers first so they can take care of who matters most. And that means that she ran a good deal of interference so that the teachers could do their jobs.
You write in the book about the difference a visible and engaged leader makes. Um, Give us examples of what that looks like, and also, just so we have something to compare it to, of people who find that to be challenging, and how it disrupts the process.
So there's a principal, Rusty Ito. He's an assistant principal actually in Montecito, California, and he says this thing which I think says it all. He says visibility is a core value. My goal is to be in the office as little as possible and be out in the classrooms, the hallways, drop off and pick up, and on the playground. This allows me to build relationships across campus. And I think when the benefits of that start to happen, leaders start to feel like they want more of it, and they pull themselves away from the many demands that are sitting on their office desk. I think that is the key of what it looks like, is really what Rusty says.
I know in the past it's been tough, with, again, a generality, but something that is been reported on fairly extensively, of the difficulty of keeping superintendents, keeping principals, because of a lot of the reasons that we brought up. So even if you have a good teaching community, how do you address that?
I think one of the things actually that I'm in the process of gathering is what kinds of data instructional leaders, principals, superintendents call upon to support this priority setting. What do they say when they're confronted with all of the things that they are not doing in the middle of the day that other leaders are? And there are a few things that these leaders say. One is that they're able to point to, for example, attendance. So attendance since the COVID epidemic has been at 25%, truancy. We have schools that have the kind of relationships with kids and teachers and parents that can bring these kids into school. If you can point to attendance, if you can point to growth, not just achievement, but growth, if you can point to retention of teachers and students, then I think you have a pretty good case for why lead this way.
What do you see, when it comes to schools and funding and all of the issues that always, that so many of us have to deal with in some way, shape, or form? How optimistic are you about the future of building these communities? Are we on the right track to keep that going?
Well, I think there are two tracks, and one track is the direction that our nation is going, which none of us know the outcome of right now. And the other is the decision to do the work. And I just had a conversation with the principal in Vista, California, who is putting his head down and moving forward with the kind of work and the kind of collaboration that he believes yields a strong and learning and growing community. And so I think that's what we need to do, because that works in whatever situation we're in. When we're together, and school is about community, we can keep moving forward.
Michelle Hughes will be talking about and signing her new book, When Teachers Stay, Cultivating Resilient Teaching Communities. The book is published by Routledge. She will be talking and signing the book at the Book House of Stuyvesant Plaza in Albany on Sunday, October 26th at 3 p.m. You'll have a great time.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna be
assume
awesome.
so. It'll be really good. Congratulations on the new book. And again, 3 o'clock on Sunday, you can find out more information by going to bhny.com. bhny.com for the book house. And find out about the event. Michelle, wonderful to have you here. Congratulations on the book. Always good to talk to you.
Thanks so much, Joe. We're so happy to be here.
Be well.